Hey everyone, welcome to my first book haul. These are books I've been collecting over about the past month or so. I usually shop for books at my local bookstore and my local used bookstore. I'd like you to keep in mind that I kept one of my reading goals in mind when I was purchasing these books, and that is to read more books by people of color, any ethnicity, and anywhere around the world. So yeah, let's get started first with the books that I got brand new from my local bookstore. The first book I will show you is Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro, and this one I'm actually in the middle of reading. I'm halfway through it. One reason I got the book was that it fell under my criteria for my reading goal. This is a Japanese-born English writer. It's also been hyped around BookTube, and I've heard a lot of good things about it, so I'm looking forward to see what the next half of the book will bring. So far, I'm enjoying it. The next book I got at the bookstore was The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison. This is another book that falls within my reading goal criteria. This is an African American writer. I did notice that my reading list is lacking African American female writers, so I'm happy to add a Toni Morrison book to my to be read list. From what I've heard, this seems to be a very meaningful read that revolves around race and skin color, and these are all topics that I love to read about and discuss, so I'm looking forward to reading this one. The next book I got from the bookstore is El Cuaderno de Maya by Isabel Allende. This is an author that I used to read, I would say my freshman, sophomore years of college. I've actually only read her English language books. This is the first Spanish one I picked up. I'm a bit intimidated since I've been losing my Spanish a bit, even though I grew up speaking it. But I'd like to give it a try soon. Maybe not this month, but sometime this summer when I have more free time. Isabel Allende is a Chilean author, so she also fits into my reading goal criteria. I'd also like to add that it is a signed copy. That's not as big of a deal to me since I didn't get it signed myself. Now I'll be moving on to books that I got from my local used bookstore. The next book I picked up is an Austen book. This is Emma. I've actually read Pride and Prejudice and Sense and Sensibility. I wasn't so sure I wanted to pick up another Austen novel, but I've heard good things about this, and I was particularly interested to know that the movie Clueless is loosely based on this novel. I am a 90s kid who grew up loving the Clueless movie, so I'm looking forward to seeing what that's all about. I'll probably be putting this off until I've read other books that are more priority for me. What also got my attention was that I really liked the illustration on the cover. It's a brand new edition. It was only $5, so I figured it wouldn't hurt. It's a pretty book. The next book I picked up at the used bookstore is Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston, and this is an African American writer from the 1930s, I believe. I first heard about this book when I was actually browsing on Google, and she was on the front page, and I got curious of who the illustration was of, and I found her biography, and I added this one to my to be read list. After subscribing to BookTubers, I also saw that this book had good reviews. People seem to love it, so I can't wait to try it. Another book that I found at the used bookstore is one that I've been wanting for quite some time now, but I just never seemed to want to pick up, but this time it was a good deal, so I decided to pick it up. It was $7, and this is Lolita by Vladimir Nabokov, and I'm sorry, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. This book is very well hyped, not only on BookTube, but on other top literature lists that I would look up before I used BookTube as a source. People say that it's very well written, and although the subject matter is a bit disturbing, it's worth it for the actual writing. So I'm not sure when I'll be reading this, but it's definitely on my to be read list for this year. The next book I picked up at the used bookstore is a poetry book, and this one's by Langston Hughes, and this was an African American poet. He wrote during the Harlem Renaissance. I've learned a lot about Langston Hughes back in elementary and high school, but I never really read anything by him, or I don't recall what it is that we did read of his. So this is a book I just decided to pick up. I was looking for something else in the poetry section. I ended up seeing that there was a brand new copy of his poetry for $5, and why not, you know? And of course, I am a political science major, so the next book I picked up falls within that category. It is Drift by Rachel Maddow. I will admit that I don't know much about her, but I have friends on Twitter who were raving about her and this book. At the used bookstore section, I found it in the liberal commentary section, so that kind of falls within my own political views. So yeah, it was on sale for $12, which is a little pricey, but it was cheaper than when I first saw it at the used bookstore. Yeah, I'm hoping this is an enjoyable read. And the last book I picked up at the used bookstore is one that I've been wanting to read for a very long time, and that is The Brief Wondrous Life of Oscar Wilde by Junot Diaz. I've actually read Drown by Junot Diaz, and I've heard a lot about him on sites that I frequent, on Tumblr and other blogs. I really like what he has to say, and I've definitely heard lots of great things about this book everywhere. It won the Pulitzer Prize, so I saw this even though it wasn't paperback, which I actually prefer. I figured I needed to grab it while I still saw it because it's always out at the other bookstore. Junot is a Dominican American writer, so he also falls within my criteria for the reading goal I set for myself this year. Out of 9 books that I purchased recently, 6 of them fall within my goal. So I believe I would have met that goal for the year, which would be 10 books by people of color. So who knows, if I expand my reading list, I may want to add to that before the end of the year. So yeah, let me know if you've read any of these books and what you thought of them. Are there any other books that are similar to these that you would recommend? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching. Bye! But yeah, looking forward to finish this once. I'd also like to add that... No, wait. Oh my god, no! Oh god, that's no...